Before I introduce our guest speaker, our first guest speaker, I'd really like to point out Matt Skurlak. Almost everybody in this room knows Matt and has worked with Matt. Matt has been the driving force behind getting today established and scheduled. And you'll be seeing a lot of Matt today, but I really did want to, do a shout out to you because, today is really a result of your hard work. So thank you very much. You know, Bitcoin Day in particular, is a day that I think our first speaker kind of really encompasses what it's all about here in Wyoming. Wyoming is an energy state, and we have the distinct advantage of having what I personally think is probably the most professional and the smartest energy executive I've ever met in my life. And as many of you know, I come from industry, so I know of what I speak of. And not only do I think Dr. Holly Krutka is really brilliant in this space, but she's also a dear friend. And it is my distinct pleasure to ask you to come up and say a few words about energy, which is so important to this community.
Hey, well, thanks, Steve, for that warm welcome. I don't know. Yeah, it is on. I think I would just set the bar a little lower because it never rains in Laramie. And if you saw me trying to get out of the middle school parking lot this morning, you would not be that impressed. I just want you to know that. Um, but I will try to do my best to bring it back up to a higher level and meet expectations. But I just want to second everyone and welcome you all here to University of Wyoming. And so my role and my job here for the next 15 minutes is to tell you a little bit about the School of Energy Resources and the energy sector in Wyoming and how blockchain and digital innovation can really tie into that sector and how in Wyoming we have some really great advantages and I think how these two sectors work together is going to help us leverage some of those things. Um, just to give you a little bit of background, and Wyoming is an energy and mining state. So the School of Energy Resources was created in 2006 by the legislature and the governor. And the whole idea behind the School of Energy Resources was to create something here at the university, the state's only four-year research institution that could focus on leveraging this incredible mineral and energy wealth that the state has and monetize that for generations to come. And so the School of Energy Resource was created. We have a separate governance board, and it's made up of energy executives. So we're all employees at the University of Wyoming. Our job is to lead and collaborate on energy and mineral topics across the University of Wyoming. But we have this board that is nominated by the governor and approved by the Wyoming Senate. And the idea is that they're all focused on energy and they're energy executives. And so they do a really good job keeping us focused on what the state needs and what's going to drive the state forward in its energy sector. So it's a really unique model. I think it only works because Wyoming only has one four-year university and research institution here. If there were multiple, it'd be really hard to pull it off. And I think it was actually incredibly brilliant. And so it's being started in 2006. Our building was completed in 2012. What we're seeing is that all those years of investment, now we're still working on cutting edge novel technologies. And by we, I mean the School of Energy Resources, but also our collaborators across the University of Wyoming and beyond. We're seeing this pipeline of innovation that's full, but we're also seeing things that are out across the state and beyond actually getting built. So just for example, our school was involved in three projects this summer with industry partners that drilled three different wells, looking at opportunities for carbon storage or understanding the geology for energy production and carbon storage. And that's not actually like totally normal for a university to be taking on that kind of large scale work. But in Wyoming, who else is going to do it? We don't have national labs. We don't have a lot of corporate entities with big, deep pocketbooks that are still operating the state. Many of our energy companies are smaller than they used to be. And I think actually it gives us this incredible advantage because we're only focused on the state. We don't have to worry about looking at different basins and optimizing our portfolio. We're all in on Wyoming. So to meet the our goals and our mission, which our mission is to advance energy-driven economic development for Wyoming. That's not in statute. It's something we review every year. Um, but that's our mission today. To meet that, we have three things that we work on and ways that we work across the University of Wyoming campus. So we have novel academic programs. And so we've been really honored to stand up some new things, including supporting work around blockchain and digital innovation, both with Director Lupian and then in other sectors across the university I'll talk about in a minute. Um, we also have a big outreach program. And so we're always looking for ways to bring content, including around the intersection of digital innovation and energy, into conferences, both for Wyoming stakeholders, but for people from elsewhere too, to show them like what we're doing and why this is the right place to invest. And then the big area that we're known for is research. And when I say research, I mean the whole, as far as you would go in terms of like what a university can pull off. We can't commercialize anything, but we can take it all the way up to that line and be working with industry partners so they can commercialize so it can benefit the state. So just by way of example, the School of Energy Resources, we have about 75 staff and about 50 research staff, and they're focused full-time on research that is focused on energy for the state of Wyoming. But each year, and in fact, the last fiscal year, we supported 320 individuals across the University of Wyoming and to focus on academics, research, and outreach that is aligned with our mission. And you think about 320 people working on these topics together and collaborating together, that's a powerhouse, especially in a state of this size. And so I think that's why we're able to see the ball moving forward in a way that it's truly rewarding. And I think one of the most important things we can do is help just provide funding. You know, we have all these incredible, brilliant minds across the University of Wyoming, and one just walked in. I'm gonna embarrass him, but Dr. Sohail Siraji had this vision. He actually during COVID, he's a faculty member with our energy and petroleum engineering department. And during COVID, he kind of taught himself. And don't change this if the story's wrong, but I like it my way. So, but taught himself about blockchain and digital innovation, but he's already an expert in energy and in Wyoming energy. So when he came to us and said, I want to stand up a center on subsurface energy and digital innovation, SETI, we were like, let's do it. And all we have to do is give him the support he needs, and he's going to do big things for the university and for the state. And he's just been an incredible collaborator, and you'll hear from him later today. But those kind of setting up centers of excellence are a really good example of what we can do, and just providing an environment where faculty, staff, and students across the university can be successful. Um, I do want to point out, in addition to our role, a couple of the ways that I think energy and digital innovation work together. And to Caitlin's point, the Minerals Committee, it's actually Minerals Business and Economic Development. So these are, for a reason, kind of being overseen by that group, and that group is making sure that that committee, which is the most powerful committee, I think, I don't know, am I allowed to say that? Maybe not. Whatever. Um, it's like there's legislators in the room. So it's a very good committee, but if you're not on it, then also there are lots of good committees. So but I will say I'm always honored to report to that committee. But let me just give a couple examples. So one of the things Sohail's been working on, and actually Wyoming's natural gas producers have been working on, is using blockchain to kind of track Wyoming energy that has superior environmental performance compared to other energy produced elsewhere. And so, just as a way of short story, um, we stood up one of the first centers supported and stood up by the School of Energy Resources was the Center for Air Quality. And one of the reasons that was stood up is because Wyoming's natural gas producers on the west side of the state were having ozone emissions and were actually having air quality events to the point where their operations were going to be shut down, like just stopped. And so the University of Wyoming, the Center for Air Quality, supported by the School of Energy Resources, actually worked with the companies that are now known as Jonah Energy and Pure West to help them find where they had emissions leaks that were causing those air quality events. And the producers just kept taking it to the next level, and they're still working on it today. But because of their hard work, not only and our collaboration with them, not only are they still producing natural gas, but Wyoming has some of the lowest emission or lowest methane intensity or carbon intensity, depending on how you define it, in the world. And so they are selling this gas in some very small, it's kind of like a new market, but they have sold it for a premium. But the people that buy that have to be sure that they're buying a credit that is real, and that's where blockchain becomes so important. And so he literally wrote the book on this, but that was part of the structured deal with the methanol producer in Europe for them to buy like this environmental attribute for Wyoming gas. And it costs them money to achieve this. So they have got to receive some benefit financially to be able to produce. And they would not have been able to sell it without blockchain. So I think this is a huge opportunity for the state of Wyoming in a world where other countries have made commitments to reduce their emissions by certain amounts. We're able to access those markets because of our gas, because of the collaboration, because of the producers, and now because we can verify it with blockchain. So that's one example. I think another example, actually thinking about Bitcoin, as I said, we're advancing new technologies. We've been working on paper, we've been working on in the lab, and now we're out in the field building big stuff. Now, for the first time in a long time, energy demand in the United States is growing. And that is going to allow us to build new things that we've been waiting to build. Because when you have demand that's going down or flat, it's really hard to build something new, especially something that has a high risk profile because of the new technology. Well, there's some technologies, and I've been working a lot with Director Lupien on this, that are ready for the pilot scale. So that means maybe 10 megawatts. It's not ready for full commercial. So how do you build something like that, though? And the answer might be it's the right scale for Bitcoin mining. So there's a new power generation technology. I've been working with this person even before I came to the University of Wyoming, who developed it at Washington University in St. Louis. It's been being developed for about 15 years, and it is ready to be tested at the 10 megawatt scale. And for reference, like a typical dispatchable power plant is about 500 megawatts. So this is because it's a modular technology, the last step for testing before it would be commercial. But we couldn't figure out until now how to get this built. And because Bitcoin mining or crypto energy demand is the right scale, we might actually be able to build that. And because Wyoming is a state friendly to energy and blockchain and Bitcoin and digital innovation, this is going to be the right place to build it. So we're really excited about that. It's still early, but I think the point is these sectors, energy and blockchain and Bitcoin and crypto and digital innovation, they really work together well. And it's Wyoming is set up in a way that other places aren't. And so being here, we're at the right place and the right time to see things moving forward. So, and I just say from the School of Energy Resources, we're fully committed to continuing collaboration and just want to, I wish you all a great day and thanks for having me.